We're here with Jason DeLong, Need for Speed The Run. Now, Need for Speed has taken on a transformation in the last couple of years, kind of a bit of a snag, I think people fair to say, but now EA seems to be back on it. 2 studios work on it. Yep. Shift's kind of gone opposite direction. Tell me a little bit about Need for Speed The Run for someone that doesn't know anything about it.
Sure, Need for Speed The Run is a story-based Need for Speed game. It's being done by Black Box Studios in Vancouver, who have done some of the best-selling Need for Speed, some of the best-selling games really. Need for Speed Most Wanted, Need for Speed Underground. So, you know, we've had a couple of years to work on this. Criterion, Hot Pursuit was done by Criterion last year, and so we've had a couple of years to get going on The Run. This is about a story about a character named Jack Rourke, who is forced into a cross-country race across the U.S. from San Francisco to New York. Yep. There's sort of a backstory with Jack where he's gotten himself into some trouble. He owes some less than ideal people some money, and is doing what he can to get the prize purse, and there's no prize for second place, so he's got to get across the country as quick as he can.
And one of the most sort of, I'll call it controversial, but that's the use of a bad word, was when you first showed it off, you showed that you had out-of-car sections, which is the first for Need for Speed, and people were like, whoa, it's a bit different. How did you take to that feedback? What do you think they add to the game that hasn't been seen in Need for Speed before?
Well, for us, it's an opportunity to tell the story in a new way. We wanted we've always done story-based Need for Speeds at Black Box, Most Wanted and Underground. We had stories with them, but we weren't able to really tell the story in an effective way because we couldn't do it in the game. We had to do a sort of a separate thing where we would film actors and they would talk to the camera as if you were the character, and you know, doesn't age well, let's put it that way. So in moving to Frostbite 2 and partnering with DICE on getting Frostbite 2 into Need for Speed, we've been able to tell the story in a way that we've always wanted to, which is to have a hero character that you control, which is a familiar mechanic obviously with games, and the out-of-car sequences are really just a way to tell stories, do cutscenes in a more interesting way. So we could always just let the player put the controller down and watch a little movie, or we could let them kind of play through it. You know, we want to keep the adrenaline up, we want to keep the action up, just like in a Hollywood movie. So the idea being that we don't want you to walk around the city and go shopping and buy a donut and that kind of thing. Jack's motivation is always get back in that race as quickly as you can. So when he is forced out of the car based on certain events in the story, his objective is always get back in the car as quickly as he can. Yeah.
And is it hard as well, because Criterion released Hot Pursuit last year, everybody loved it. It was almost like a reinvention almost for Need for Speed. It's like, oh man, Need for Speed is great again. Has that been hard to you to make sure you not only match what they did, but try and top it? Because I imagine there's some kind of friendly competition there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there is. It's exactly right. It's brotherly love and friendly competition. You know, Criterion's awesome. We speak with them obviously frequently. We're all part of the racing group within EA, so we're really tight with our friends at Criterion. Obviously, we're integrating some things like Autolog, which they put in. We've integrated into our career in a different way than in Hot Pursuit, because as opposed to the single event-based Autolog like they had in Hot Pursuit, we actually have woven it into the career. So it's also about getting across the country, getting Jack across the country as fast as you can, but it's also about racing against your friends across the country. So we know second to second how you rank up against your friends at that point in the race. And maybe you get to Chicago, but your friend beat you by 3 minutes. So it's like, well, maybe I'll go back and try it again. Yeah. So obviously working with Criterion has been great, and it's been great because I think Need for Speed now has some attention again, which is kind of what it deserves. It's an amazing franchise. It's the biggest franchise in racing by a long shot. You know, it's got a great history, and it deserves to be kind of regarded as one of the great franchises that's out there. So we're really happy that Hot Pursuit kind of got people interested again. E3, you know, we got people's attention. We're here at Gamescom. We're showing some of our amazing racing, because obviously Need for Speed is a racing game, and we don't want people to forget that. So, you know, we're showing our Desert Hills level, which is one of our desert sprint levels, and we're also showing behind closed doors the Avalanche level that we showed at our press conference. So really being able to kind of show that, you know, this game is about action, it's about intense racing, it's about big moments, it's about Hollywood action. That's really what we're trying to sell.
Yeah, and you mentioned Autolog as well. A lot of people have kind of heralded that as a new way to integrate multiplayer with single player, and as a game as a whole, what do you feel like it adds to Need for Speed, and would you like to see EA almost roll it out over all their games?
I think what it does is it provides a level of competition, another level of competition, because in the past the assumption of multiplayer was that you and your friend had to be online at the same time and playing together, and that's still a huge part of it, don't get me wrong, but the fact that I can play a race and set a time and go to bed, and the next day I see that someone else has played that race, a friend of mine, and he's beat my time by a couple seconds, that motivates me to go back and play that race again. So it's added depth to the game and replayability to the game, and it really sort of that competitive nature that we all have, it really surfaces it in a way that it hasn't happened before. And for us, it makes the single player of The Run a much less lonely experience, because yes, you're playing the single player career of getting Jack to New York, but you're racing against your friends. You're racing against 200 AI racers that we put in to make the race fun and competitive. But at the end of the day, you know that it's about beating that friend to New York and making sure that you were the fastest of all your friends there. So it just adds a complete other layer and depth of gameplay, which is fantastic.
And obviously you've now had time to play around with it. Can you see it as a feature that could be rolled out across sort of more than just a racing genre? Does it have that much scope to do that?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think you'll see from the EA press conference, Battlefield has it, SSX has their RiderNet. It's taken off. It's a huge feature, and I think it's going to become sort of the norm and the requirement for almost any game going forward, because it's just such a huge innovation and a huge sort of revolution in terms of how you can deepen an experience for players.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously you guys are now veterans when it comes to Need for Speed franchise as well. Do you find it hard to kind of make sure the gameplay and the way the car feels, also you kind of cater to your fans, they go, I know this is a black box game, but also that you push it forward, and how have you done that with Need for Speed The Run?
That's a great question. What we wanted to do was make sure that we had sort of a a believable performance to the cars. So just like we wanted to have a believable character performance and have the sort of human story that doesn't feel cheesy but doesn't feel forced. The same is true of our physics and our handling. We didn't want players to be experiencing this story that we think is they will be attached to, and then get behind the wheel and have it feel completely disconnected from the story that they're seeing. Yeah. So we're sort of a hybrid between a more arcadey handling model, like Hot Pursuit, for example, but definitely not a simulation like a Shift or a Gran Turismo. The idea is that we're sort of somewhere in between, where the cars they're easy to pick up and play. They behave believably. A novice could get behind the wheel and do just fine. But for those people that really want to master the controls and just execute a perfect drift around a corner or shave the hundreds of seconds off their time, we have that depth and that complexity in the model. So it really is a believable model that we're using.
Has the Frostbite engine helped with that at all?
Absolutely. I mean, Frostbite is an incredible engine in many ways, and it brought us, amazing character performances, beautiful-looking worlds, great world destruction, huge action, huge visual effects, and being able to integrate the physics and handling model of the black box into that engine, putting those things together has just it's a match made in heaven. Frostbite's, I think people will be just staggered by what that brings. It also allows us to create more content than we've ever done before. It's an amazing tool for artists. So the fact that we've got over 300 kilometers of track in the game, which is more than 3 times you've seen in any Need for Speed before, we really wanted to replicate that race across the U.S. So you start in San Francisco and you go through the highways, across the rolling hills, into the deserts, into the lush forests, into the snowy mountaintops. You're going to experience that all, and it's not about in 3 minutes you go from the top of the mountain to the desert. It takes a long time. It's an epic race. Yeah.
Obviously, you've taken the guy out of the car for the first time. But how does Need for Speed evolve for here? Or how would you like to see it evolve if you do continue to work on the series?
Oh, we're definitely going to continue to work on it, and I think it's we have to see the reaction that people give to what we're doing right now, and we're very in touch with our community. We know what they're asking for as well, so we want to make sure that we're keeping the fans happy and continuing to evolve Need for Speed for years to come.
Would you ever dare split it and do 50 out of the car, 50 in the car, or is that too much of a risk?
I don't think that fits with the Need for Speed model. I can't say that it's not something we wouldn't be interested in doing for another property perhaps, but Need for Speed, it's a racing game. We've got to stick to our roots.
Mirror's Edge in cars?
Well, that's interesting.
Excellent. James DeLong, thank you very much for your time.
Cheers.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.